Right now, Republican Congressman from Ohio, Mike Turner, member of the House Intel Committee. Intel has been an issue in this whole issue of the whole thing, the debacle that we're seeing in Afghanistan. But I wanted to ask you, Congressman, from what you saw today, from what you've heard over the past few days, what would you like to know?
Well, this really is a mess of just unbelievable proportion. I also serve on the Armed Services Committee. I've been in and out of Afghanistan and, of course, have been briefed on this subject matter over the last 20 years, both in public sessions from our military leaders and also in intel briefings. What's disingenuous about what the president's saying is he says this was inevitable, but no one told me this would happen. We're not going to run for the exits, but we're going to leave in the middle of the night. We're going to get everyone out, but I can't guarantee what's going to happen. There's no presence of al-Qaeda. But we know that there is. All of these things stack up to what is an international crisis that this administration created. Today, he almost bragged, saying this was the most complex, one of the most complex, airlifts in America's history. He created this. They said they were going to exit. They had no plan. They have no strategy. They still have no strategy. They're saying people can't get to the airport, but everyone should go to the airport. This is so many mixed messages, but what's even more just completely frustrating about this, there appears to be a complete lack of understanding from the White House that this is created by the White House and that they need to step up and take greater action or it's going to get just worse.
Yeah, in reference to who was told what when, here is President Biden today responding to those allegations about this intel report that he received back in July. Listen.
Your own intelligence community has assessed that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true.
Can you please clarify what they have told you about whether that will happen or not?
That is not true. They did not reach that conclusion.
Okay, that was the statement that he made about it back in July. But today, he responded once again to reports released, I believe it was overnight last night, that he did receive those cables. And he said, I receive a lot of cables, I get a lot of advice, but the buck stops with me. Let's actually bring that up now.
America's out. All kinds of cables, all kinds of advice. If you notice, it ranged from this group saying that they didn't say it'd fall when it would fall, when it did fall, but saying that it would fall, to others saying it wouldn't happen for a long time and they'd be able to sustain themselves through the end of the year. I took the consensus opinion. The consensus opinion was that, in fact, it would not occur if it occurred until later in the year. So it was my decision.
Is that a good explanation for you?
No, it's completely disingenuous. I mean, first off, he served in the United States Senate and, of course, as the U.S. Vice President and now as President. It's not as if someone just walked into his office and just started discussing Afghanistan with him for the first time in the past week. He's had access to information intelligence reports that made it clear what the situation was on the ground in Afghanistan, both with the government and with the Afghan military. But what's more troubling here is it's not just some crystal ball projection that the international community is being asked, what did you see in the future? It's his actions that he took. He literally pulled the U.S. military out in the middle of the night, did not even tell the Afghan military what they were doing. And when you do that, you pull out the chain of command upon which they were relying. There was both the NATO chain of command, U.S. chain of command, and the Afghan national military was reliant on the U.S. military. Similarly for the Afghan government itself. When you pull that foundational underpinnings at such a rapid pace, you undermine it, you make it more difficult for it to sustain itself, and you certainly have the very expected result that we saw here.
Mike, let me get your thoughts about Afghanistan itself as far as Americans who are there. The president said today, if you're an American, you want to get home, we're going to help you get home safely. In my mind, I went to Iraq. I didn't go to Afghanistan. You have. I feared checkpoints because they pop up anywhere at any time. And an American trying to reach the airport, that's a scary scenario.
Well, absolutely. And you don't even know who these checkpoints are. Are these these Taliban thugs? Are these murderous people? Are they people supposedly from the going to be ruling group of Taliban? Or are these just criminals? Are these part of the drug trade? You don't really know who is impeding you, but you certainly know this: that every time that an official from the White House says everybody should go to the airport, well, all of Kabul does. And it's certainly very difficult for Americans to get through, who are those who we're seeking. Remember, the president said, we will get everyone out, but I can't guarantee the result. This is a situation he has created. This is an international crisis, a crisis for Americans. And as you pointed out in the beginning of this segment, with the presence of al-Qaeda and ISIS, this is going to be a continuing threat to the United States.
And speaking of internationally, the president was asked about the worldwide response and the credibility of the United States around the world, said that he had seen no question of our credibility and actually experienced the exact opposite when we know that the British Parliament has condemned the President Biden's actions. We have Germany that's spoken out about it, France as well. What do we do to restore our reputation across the world?
Well, this is complete fantasy on his part. And the fact that he believes he can stand in front of a camera and say this and then anybody will buy it is just really unfortunate. Because as you just described, we're reading the reports, we're reading the newspapers, and we're seeing the news accounts across the world. The United States is had unbelievable damage as a result of turning our backs on our allies, bringing down the Afghan support, destabilizing the government. What has happened to the Afghan people, the future threat that we're going to have from al-Qaeda and ISIS, this shows not only weakness, it shows no planning, it shows a government in chaos. That's ours, not just Afghanistan, and this is certainly troubling.
Who should be held
accountable? Congressman Mike Turner, thank you.
Who should be held accountable and how?
Well, obviously, the president should. Some people have said, should his advisors resign? It seems like his advisors were telling him exactly what the situation was, but he made the decision anyway. This is a catastrophe.
All right. Congressman Mike Turner, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.